This week I will be talking about a great WrestleMania, a great Raw after, and a great crowd minus a couple of chants that I will get into this week on the Wrestling Report. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome to the weekly Wrestling Report. I am, as always, Chi-Town Guy 89, your number one source for wrestling news, rumors, and opinions on YouTube. And this past weekend was WrestleMania weekend, the biggest weekend of the year for WWE. And let's get right down to it. Let's start talking about WrestleMania. WrestleMania blew my expectations out of the water. I thought it was going to be average at best, but it turned out to be one of the best. And it started on the kickoff show. The Fatal 4-Way Tag match was great on the kickoff show. High-flying action. A lot of good near falls. There was points where I thought every team was going to win. I was like, are you kidding me? You're going to give it to the goddamn New Day. But nope. They gave the win to Kid and Cesaro. They retained the titles. And then added like Friday or Saturday to the pre-show was the Andre Battle Royal. And I don't necessarily agree with having Big Show win, but they at least used it to help elevate Damien Sandow. They had him finally turn on The Miz and eliminate him. And then we get into the main card. Started off with the ladder match. Great match. A lot of good bumps. Ambrose took a wicked bump. Harper picked him up off the ladder into a powerbomb position and threw him outside the ring through a ladder, and I thought Dean Ambrose was dead. And that was one of many really good high spots. That was the best of the high spots. And Bryan ended up winning with after a struggle on top of the ladder with Ziggler. And then move on to Orton and Rollins, and they had a really good match, a really good technical match, and a lot of near falls, a lot of good spots, and then Orton ended up getting the win with one of the most insane RKOs I've ever seen. Seth was going to give him a curb stomp, and Randy popped up, launched Seth in the air, and gave him an RKO. It was, other than the counter to the shooting star he did to Evan Bourne a few years back, the best RKO I've ever seen. And then we move on to Sting and Triple H, which was a really good match. And they had DX come out to try and help Triple H because they made the match no DQ, like right before the match. And then Sting fought off DX, and when DX got back up to try and go back at Sting, the NWO's music hit, and it's like, what the fuck? The NWO! And then I'm sitting here like, what's the point of this? This is ridiculous! And then I'm like, wait a minute! The NWO and DX are fighting! This is fucking awesome! And so Hogan, Hall, Nash are brawling with the Outlaws and X-Pac, and while Triple H and Sting are going at it in the ring. And another thing, I never thought I would say something like this, but Sting puts the Scorpion Deathlock, the worst sharpshooter ever. He leans forward instead of back. It wouldn't even hurt. I'm not a performer, and I can tell. But yeah, Sting goes to put Triple H in the Scorpion Deathlock, and it's like, and you hear the commentators going, whoa, 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 whoa. And I'm like, what's going on? Is there's some crazy spot going on outside? And no, it's Shawn Michaels, and he gives Sting sweet chin music. Shawn Michaels super kicked Sting. How many of you out there thought that you would ever hear those words come out of someone's mouth and they were not playing a video game? Shawn Michaels super kicked Sting. It's unbelievable. If you told me that in 1998 that Shawn Michaels would super kick Sting, I wouldn't believe you. If you told me 5 years ago Shawn Michaels would super kick Sting, I wouldn't believe you. Because I never thought Sting would come. I never thought he'd come. I thought he'd come for a Hall of Fame induction, and that's it. But Sting ended up getting the win. Stupid. It's just WWE, once again, stroking their ego, proving to themselves and to WCW that they were better, reminding them that they won. It's 14 years later. Let it go. Let a WCW guy go over in his first match. Other than Goldberg, that hasn't happened. Steiner lost. Booker T lost. Everyone in the Invasion lost. Everyone in the Invasion lost every fucking match they were in. That's why the Invasion flopped. WCW looked like a bunch of idiots. But I digress. Moving on. Up next was the Bellas versus AJ and Paige, which for the relatively short time they were given was a pretty good match. AJ and Paige have always been good workers, and the Bellas are getting better. And it shows what happens when you give the Divas a decent amount of time in a match that doesn't involve fucking 20 of them. Look at that. They had a good match. Give Divas a chance. Like, seriously. Give them a chance to be really good, like Triple H gives them on NXT. And then next, I believe, was Cena Rusev. And Rusev's entrance was really awesome. They had, I think it was the Russian national anthem playing, and a bunch of guys dressed up as Russian soldiers came out. And then Rusev pulls up in a fucking tank. And it's like, well, you just got most badass entrance in WrestleMania history. I don't care. Take any entrance in WrestleMania history. That's more badass because he came out in a goddamn tank. And then the match was really good. I thought so. Cena pulled off something I've never seen anyone do. And like he springboarded backwards into Rusev and did a stunner. It's like, the fuck? Like, that was my first thought. What the fuck was that? A springboard stunner. I've never seen that before. Yeah, 5 moves of doom, my ass. And Cena got the win, which is perfectly fine with me because him and Bryan are elevating the 2 mid-card titles to where they should be. The Intercontinental title should be the wrestler's title, like it was for years and years and years. And what it was on guys like Shawn and Brett and Steamboat and Savage and all these guys, while people like Hogan and Warrior were holding the WWE title and couldn't work a lick. Yeah, to all you people out there who say Cena can't work, go watch 1998 Halloween Havoc, Hulk Hogan versus The Ultimate Warrior. If you hate Cena matches, that match is going to make you want to stab your eyes out. And then next was Undertaker and Bray Wyatt, which they had to work around Bray Wyatt being kind of seriously hurt because during the pre-show, like during warm-ups around the ring, Bray Wyatt apparently sprained his ankle bad enough to where they had to cart him out, and he wasn't able to put weight on it backstage, and they had to cast it up. So they had to work around that, and it was still a really good match, I thought. It didn't go any more than, I think, probably 15 minutes, but that's probably because Wyatt was hurt, and Undertaker got the win. Undertaker looked physically a lot better than he did last year. I thought he looked worn and weathered last year. He just didn't look that intimidating last year. But this year he looked intimidating still. I'm half his age and he'd probably intimidate the fuck out of me. But, before that, they had a segment with Triple H and Stephanie, and Rock comes out after Triple H and Stephanie pat themselves on the back saying, "Oh, we made this possible, the attendance record here at Levi's Stadium, blah, blah, blah." And The Rock comes out, he's like, "No, you don't own the people, and you don't own The Rock," and yada, yada, yada. And then Stephanie slaps him, and he's acting all defeated because she's like, "Oh, what are you going to do, hit a woman?" And then he walks around, and he walks right next to Ronda Rousey. And she hops the guardrail, gets in the ring, and has a stare down with Stephanie, and they talk back and forth a little, and then Rock starts beating up Triple H, and then Ronda takes down Triple H. Like, total judo style headlock takedown to Triple H. And then she teased putting Steph in an armbar, and then Steph left and Ronda went back to her seat. And I love Ronda Rousey. She is my favorite UFC fighter. She is the most dangerous unarmed woman on the planet, just like she says she is. And if Mike Tyson was the baddest man on the planet, she is the baddest woman on the planet. She is a legit badass who has never been beaten. No one's even ever really given her a test. And then she tweeted out yesterday that I'm not done, which makes me think WrestleMania 32, AT&T Stadium, Rock and Ronda versus Triple H and Stephanie. You want to fill 100,000 plus seats, book that match. You will get so much more fans than you would without that match, because Ronda is a mainstream superstar athlete who wouldn't even come close to embarrassing herself in the ring. And Steph can work. And then you have Rock and Triple H, two of the biggest names in WWE history. There's nothing about that match that wouldn't work. And then you have the main event. Freshly re-signed contract. Ink ain't even dry. Brock Lesnar defending against everyone's favorite superstar, Roman Reigns. Oh, he got booed out of the stadium. I didn't hear a single cheer. Usually at Raws, you'll hear a smattering of cheers amongst the boos. You did not hear a single clap, a single yay. You just heard boo. A lot of it. And loudly. And then the bell rings, and in the first little scrum, Roman opens up Brock like in the corner of his eye. But for about the next 10 minutes, that's about all that Roman did. Because Roman got his ass whooped. Like, just about as bad as Cena did, if not worse. But what I loved about it was not only Brock Lesnar looking like a badass, because Brock Lesnar is my favorite guy right now. Like, he's a special attraction. You don't get to see him a lot, and he's a badass motherfucker. Where can you go wrong with that? And he decimates Roman, and Roman gets a little bit of offense, and he hit him with a pretty wicked knee right to the bridge of the nose. But that was really it until he posted Lesnar. He threw Lesnar into the post, and from what it looks like, people have slowed down video, it looks like Lesnar bladed, like intentionally cut himself for the sake of the match. And that's something that Vince has been against for a long time. Because if you look closely, Reigns is knocked out of the ring, and they give Lesnar something. Like, you can see the ref go, and Roman grab something, and then he probably, like, in a little, like, Brock probably went to pick him up, and then Roman passed him the blade, and then he threw him into the post. He's bleeding. And then he used that to get back into the match. It took about 3 Superman punches to get him down. He speared him twice. And I was thinking, oh no, they're having him win. But Brock kicked out, and then Reigns goes for another Superman punch, and Brock catches him in midair and F5s the shit out of him. And who comes down but Mr. Money in the Bank, Seth Rollins, makes it a triple threat match, curb stomps Lesnar, goes for a second, gets picked up for an F5, Roman spears him, and then Rollins hits Reigns with a curb stomp, gets the win, and Seth Rollins leaves WrestleMania as WWE Champion. I didn't think that would happen. I was 0% expecting that. I did not think WWE had the balls to do it, but they did. They did it. And it was awesome. Now, I don't hate Roman Reigns. I don't. But I hate how they're using him. I don't like the character. He's ridiculous. I will. Boy, that's not generic. And back to what I was saying. What I loved about it was Roman Reigns' performance while getting beat up. His facial expressions were on point. He was smiling through the pain. And it was like, oh my God, how do you break this man? And just being a complete defiant guy. Just like, you think you can hurt me, you can break me, but I will keep coming until you kill me. And that's what they need to do. They need to make him just a straight up badass. Don't give him stupid t-shirts with catchphrases on them. Give him maybe a simple catchphrase. I don't know. I'm not that creative with catchphrases. But give him something simple. And just have him go out there and be a badass. Maybe give him a mouthpiece. Because he is not a strong talker. But we don't have to worry about him being champion because Seth Rollins left as champion. Now, on to the next night. Raw, after WrestleMania, is known for being just an insane show with an insane crowd. And it kicked off with Brock and Heyman demanding a rematch. And then Steph comes out, well, he's still in the air. He was on the Today Show from New York today. So we'll let you know when he gets here, but I'll book it right now. So it's like, oh my God, Lesnar's wrestling on Raw. And after that, Daniel Bryan versus Dolph Ziggler for the Intercontinental title. Great match. Best Raw match I've seen in a long, long, long time. And it was hard hitting. It was good brawling, good wrestling, good everything. And Bryan got the win, retained with the running knee. And then Barrett, who was on commentary, who was salty about losing his title, goes in there, starts beating them both up, and then Sheamus hits the ring. Newly mohawked and braided, bearded Sheamus. I don't know if he looked badass or absolutely ridiculous. But he comes out, he fights off Barrett, and then he bro kicks Bryan and beats up Ziggler, officially turning himself heel, which he's needed to do for a long time now. And I love Sheamus as a heel. He is a great heel. And then after that, the championship match is announced and started. And Brock comes out, and then Rollins comes out. They make the formal announcement. Rollins shoves the belt in Reigns' face, and then goes to the outside and is like, you know what? I'm jet lagged. I'm not feeling it tonight. You'll get your rematch, but not tonight. And then Brock Lesnar fucking flips shit. He beats the hell out of Rollins. Rollins barely is able to escape. He beats the hell out of J&J security, flips over the announce table on top of JBL and Booker T, and then throws Michael Cole into the ring, and to the biggest of crowd reactions, F5's Michael Cole, and I think Michael Cole is dead. And then he F5'd a cameraman twice after Stephanie came up and said, put him down, you don't know what you're doing, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, you know what, you're suspended. So that's how they're going to take him off TV till WrestleMania, or SummerSlam. And then backstage, Stephanie said, you know what, I'm going to hit him where he really cares, because he doesn't care about showing up for dates. He still gets paid. I'm fining him. And as long as he's signed to a contract, I own that big son of a bitch. And it's like, oh, Lesnar's not going to like that. Lesnar's coming for the authority. And so, in my eyes, that was a Lesnar and Paul Heyman babyface turn. And then we get Cena issuing an open challenge, and Dean Ambrose answers it, and they have a hell of a match. I love Dean Ambrose, and John Cena is perfectly capable of having a good match. Now, complain about his character all you want, because those complaints are warranted. I don't think the complaints about his in-ring work are all too warranted. Does he have bad matches more often than the top guy should? Probably. But, you know, Hogan had worse matches. Warrior had worse matches. Just, the character is something to complain about. He's stale, all that. In-ring work is not. But Cena gets the win after a really hard-fought battle Ambrose kicked out of an AA. Ambrose put him in an STF that's better than any STF Cena has ever applied, because much like Sting applies a terrible sharpshooter, John Cena applies the absolute worst STF I've ever seen. Your head is in this. See that space? That's about the space he gives you. Ow. That's gonna hurt. Cinch up Cena. God damn it. And then we had the Divas match, which was a 6-woman tag with AJ Page and Naomi versus the Bellas and Natalya. It was a good match. But the fucking crowd, which everything else I had no problem with, even chanting at Big Show and Kane, please retire, when you know damn good and well if you were getting paid what they're getting paid, you wouldn't even consider retiring. But chanting at them as follows. Chanting at Brie, you fuck Brian. Chanting at Nikki, you fuck Cena. Chanting at Natalya, you fuck Tyson. That's just absolutely disrespectful. Who are you to fucking criticize someone in a public forum for who they chose to be with, to who they chose as their long-term partner? Who are you to criticize them for their fucking personal lives? Criticize the in-ring stuff. Fine. Don't fucking bring their personal lives into it, because you know damn good and well if someone talked about your personal life on the internet, you'd get all butthurt and complain. So shut the fuck up. Now, on to the main event. It was Randy Orton, Ryback, and Roman Reigns versus Big Show, Kane, and Seth Rollins. Boy, did this match suck. And boy, did the crowd make it better. They were chanting, please retire, at Kane and Big Show. I don't have a problem with it, but look at it from their side. You're getting paid $2 million a year. No matter how bad you are at your job, you're not retiring until that contract is up. But they were chanting, we are awesome. They were having NXT chants, which 2 NXT guys debuted at the show. Backtrack a bit. Or an NXT tag team and an NXT guy. Lucha Dragons made their debut, and so did Adrian Neville, who is now just called Neville because no one has first names in WWE anymore. No one. First names are forbidden. But back to the main event. And they chanted just about everything that NXT people chant. They did the Enzo and Big Cass, how you doing? Which I love Enzo and Big Cass. I was kind of hoping they would be the tag team to come up. But they did Breeze is Gorgeous for Tyler Breeze. They just did a whole bunch, and it was hilarious. They did the fucking wave, which WWE increased the lighting for, panned out, stopped the action in the ring to show the crowd doing the wave. It was awesome. And then they started chanting, we are awesome. And because Noah Donish, fellow YouTuber, go look at him, go subscribe to him, noahtube.com. Wait, no, noahmania.com, because he's great and he will ruffle your feathers, but go subscribe to him because he knows what he's talking about most of the time. He brought this up. They made that main event shitty on purpose just to elicit that type of crowd response. Because they knew Raw after Mania, they're not going to be having that shit. So they were like, let's make it terrible and let's see the crowd entertain the audience and see the crowd be just insane. And they did. The crowd was insane, and I loved it. I believe Reigns pinned Kane. And then Sting came out after Raw and was interviewed by Renee Young, who I love and should have been the one to come out and replace the announcers, not Byron Saxton. It should have been Renee Young and Jerry Lawler, not Byron Saxton and Jerry Lawler. And Renee Young interviewed Sting, and she asked him what his future was going to be. And he said he didn't know. He was going to take anything the WWE would give him and roll with it. And he said if they don't give him anything, it's a shame, but he'll live with it. And then the crowd immediately started chanting Undertaker. And then Bo Dallas comes out and gets dropped on the back of his head with a Scorpion Death Drop. And Bo was great because he still had the microphone close enough to where you could hear him when he was about to be dropped for the Scorpion Death Drop, and he was like, "No, Sting, no, 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 no," and then got dropped. It was pretty damn funny. So overall, WrestleMania weekend was a success. And I'd give WrestleMania a solid 8.5, pushing 9 out of 10. I'd say it was better than last year, and I loved last year. And the Raw after was awesome, and that'll do it for me. I will be up next week with a Raw review. Hopefully it's as good as this review. And until next time, I will see you all later.